Hey everyone, it's Leanne. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how I created this really cute penguin card, and this is created using the Snow Cool stamp set and die set from Lawn Fawn. So to begin with this card, I'm starting with an A2 folded card base. It's a side folded card, and then a piece of cardstock of the same size as that card base. I have these circle dies from Michaels, and this is the size I'm going to be using, and this is the Snow Cool stamp set. So what I'm going to do is take that card base, that single sheet, and I'm going to use the circle template and create a template to put my background on. So finding the position of the circle, I'm going to leave some space at the bottom for my sentiment. I ran that through my die cutting machine, and you can see there that I have a circle cut out in the middle. So I'm just going to line this up with my card base, the front side of my card base, and attach it with some post-it tape. Another way you could create this mask is if you used masking paper, but I don't have any of that on hand. So for distress inks, I'm going to use Wilted Violet and Picked Raspberry. And I'm going to start with the Wilted Violet because that's the darkest color, so I want that to be at the top of my sky. And so for this card, I'm using some unconventional sky colors, but they still look really pretty together. I think as long as you found a couple or a few colors that complemented each other, and if you ran them darkest to lightest, you're definitely going to have a pretty sky. It doesn't have to be the typical blues or colors that you would think you'd use. So to apply the ink, I'm using my circle blending tools and just rubbing it around, blending it in soft circles so that it glides evenly over the paper, and I get an even distribution of ink every time I bring a new application to the paper. And being especially careful around the edges because my template is just a cardstock, it's not really taped down, making sure that it doesn't slide underneath the template outside the circle. So here's the reveal, and you can see how that turned out. So you can get good results with the cardstock as your template. It's not ideal, it's nice to have the sticky stuff, but this still worked really well. So I'm putting it back on because I'm going to stamp my snow sky next, and I removed it and then forgot that I actually needed it still. So I put this down, and then I added some frog tape. The frog tape's a little bit more sticky, and so I found it held it really nice for here. So I'm using this snow stamp with Versamark ink, which is a clear ink, but it's good for embossing. So when you use Versamark, you can pretty much use any color of embossing powder on top. And I'm using Snow from Recollections, and so this is a white embossing powder, and I picked this up at Michaels. If you head to your local Michaels, they have a wide variety of embossing powders. So I'm just going to tap this off with my mop brush, and any stray bits around the edges, I'm just going to brush those off, and then I'm going to run this under my heating tool and set that embossing powder. So using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, I'm going to stamp the stamps for this card. Now there's only a few stamps I'm going to use. I'm doing the little penguin snowman, which is really cute, and I decided just to put his bow tie right on him. There's also a die cutout for that, but I thought it would fit well on the stamp. And then I'm going to make him a little hat too, a little top hat. And then the penguin that I'm using is the girl penguin, and she's going to be building the snowman in the snow. So to color this, I'm using B60, which is a really, really light blue-gray, and I'm going to use my colorless blender as well, and just to bleed in this shadow into the color of the paper. So because my snow penguin is white, I don't really need to do a lot of coloring on him. Just adding some of this blue where I think the shadows would be. So I'm just coming up again in here to darken that right edge. That's my deepest side of my shadow. And then creating his little nose, I'm using this Y32 and then YR04, and that bright orange is going to create the shadow. For the accents for these guys, I decided to use green, something that's a nice complement to the background but would also stand out because I do want my elements to be the focal point of my image. And so then here I'm doing the top hat in 2 shades of blue. These elements are all very tiny, so I didn't do a variance of colors. I never used more than 2 colors in one area. just a light for the base and then a dark color to create these shadows. And I also use the same set of colors throughout the two items. That just creates harmony and sort of ties them all together a little nicer. So these blues that I'm using and these greens that I'm using, you see me use these greens on the snowman's or the snow penguin's bow tie, and I will use these greens on my penguin as well, and the blues I will use as well on the penguin. So because this is a girl, I'm going to give her a little pink shadow on the chest, and then blending that into white with my colorless blender as well. And then I'm coming in with R20, which is sort of an orangey pink, and it's a little bit darker than that light pink there. And that just kind of strengthens the shadow a bit and adds a little bit more color interest into that application. And so I will use this R20 as well for the cheeks here. It's just adding those two cute little dots. And so the Y32 that I used on the base of the nose of the snow penguin, I'm using on my penguin here, and the feet as well. So again, using single colors to bring harmony together, but then it also stretches your markers a little bit because you don't need 100 colors to color one thing. You can use them for different applications and they still look different. So this penguin I decided to make blue. I've done a few cards using this stamp set, and you can check out those other videos on my channel, and I've done different colors for the penguins. I've done some with more of a purpley, a light purple, a dark bluish purple, but this penguin I decided to do the blue. I just thought it blended nicely with the background, but also stood out on its own as well. So I'm just touching up all of those elements, doing the shadows. And this one I'm going to come back and just soften that edge. That shadow line along the left was, or sorry, on the right was a little bit harsh, and I really wanted that to blend nicely, so I just feathered it out from that line. And then coming back in with the lightest color at the end, I just blend those all together. And that's probably the nice thing about these alcohol-based markers is once you get the area damp that you're working with a marker, then you can really blend colors together. They all work really nicely. Even if they're not in the same color family, they will bleed together nicely. You don't get streaks or anything like that. So it makes it really nice for doing stuff like this. So I'm just adding the shadows here to finish off the hat. And so now I have this green dispersed through each of my elements on the scene. So that'll be a nice tie-in between them when this card is done. And I had a lot of fun coloring these. I just kind of took my time and really thought about the colors that I wanted to use, and I was really happy with how they turned out. So you can see there I showed the dies that I used to cut those out, and now I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo Black ink here as well for the sentiment because I had it out on my craft table, so it was just handy. So I'm using the biggest word from my sentiment first, and I'm stamping that sort of in the bottom of the circle, but bleeding out into the white part of the paper too. And this helps tie those two elements together. So you don't have a circle and then a background that's white and they feel separated. This way, by putting that largest sentiment phrase first and bleeding it between, they sort of marry the two backgrounds together. And then it works as a nice anchor too, because you can line up your smaller part of your sentiment and center it off that main stamped sentiment. So I put the hat on with a little bit of craft glue. It was really tiny. I thought about using 2A tape, but it was just easier to grab some craft glue and just tack it into place. And then I'm putting each of these on with foam tape. As they are the main part of my card, I want them to pop up a little bit more. And then to finish it off, I'm using my Wink of Stella brush pen in clear glitter. And anywhere I have green accents, which are on both elements in my scene, I'm just dropping a little bit of glitter there, just to finish it off and give it a little sparkle. So there you have it. This is my Snow Cool holiday card, and created using the Snow Cool stamp set from Lawn Fawn. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you're notified the next time I post a video. Thanks so much for watching.